Okay, thank you very much. Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you very much to Maxis for inviting Duopharma Biotech Berhad to share our thoughts on our journey, our digitalization journey. I think a lot of big words in terms of what the MC said, but I don't know if it's groundbreaking in any way. We are actually a very traditional industry in that sense, you know, pharmaceutical, highly regulated. You can't manufacture what is considered a food grade in a pharmaceutical facility. Sometimes I scratch my head about why I'm doing this, but you know, it's an interesting industry. Now, I only have half an hour, and I've got 20 odd slides, so wish me luck. Okay. All right, so smarter solutions, healthier life. Now, it's interesting. We've basically, as a company, we've gone through a journey of transformation, not just from digitalization, but also from the point of view of even branding, because we were previously known as CCM, Duopharma Biotech Berhad. How many of you know CCM? I know Maida knows CCM very well, so, okay. So we're a chemical company of Malaysia. We were part of CCM before. Now, we demerged from CCM back in 2017, and we went through this process of rebranding. So we called Duopharma Biotech Berhad. A whole year of trying to, you know, crack our heads and figure out what we're going to call ourselves, and then we decided we'll just drop CCM. So, no-brainer. So that's our name tag, Smarter Solutions, Healthier Life. Now, Duopharma, we've been around for, I think, more than 40 years. We started off acquiring assets throughout the state of Selangor. So in Malaysia, there's about, I think, 48 to 49 pharmaceutical manufacturers, the smallest to the biggest. So we are a 34 million population in Malaysia. We're not a big market. As such, building a pharmaceutical industry or investing in pharmaceutical is always a challenge. But what we have done is basically build a company that is based on this focus of trying to be a bit different than other companies. So when you are in Malaysia, you're generally manufacturing generics. There's no, you know, innovator products per se. That's all in the West. Some in China now, interesting. So China is producing new chemical entities, meaning new drugs, yeah, not generics. So we do generics. And being a generics company means that you're manufacturing something that everybody else is manufacturing. So you have to do it cheaper. So in terms of trying to diversify ourselves, what we do is we move into the biosimilar side. So I'm sorry if I'm bamboozling you with a lot of words, and it's not my intention, but that's all I know. So biosimilar is basically a similar category of products that is a copy of a biopharma product. So if generics is a chemical copy of an innovator chemical product, biosimilar is basically a copy of a biopharma product. So it's made from living cells, not chemicals. Sorry if I'm confusing you even more. But we've got 300 generic drugs. We have currently one biosimilar, and we're very proud of it, and I'll be talking to you a little bit about it. We also have a lot of consumer healthcare products, OTC products. Some of the brands are Flavets, Euphamol, Natural, eye drops, Proviton, multivitamins, Champs for children, etc. So those are our products. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. So we are owned by Permodalan Nasional Berhad, PNB. EPF owns some shares in the company as well, about 4% foreign shareholding. The rest is in floated on Bursa. Okay, some graphics gone there. Hope it doesn't happen with the rest of the other slides as well. But just quickly, this is basically our core values and our corporate culture. Our smarter solutions for healthy life, that's the tagline. We're trying to be a bit different in terms of our business models and the products that we bring into the market. So we are the largest in Malaysia in terms of value and volume. That doesn't come from me, it comes from IQVIA, which is a third-party independent report. Okay, so brief history. We started back in 1978. I won't go through the entire thing. Listed on the Malaysian Stock Exchange on Bursa in 2002. We did, okay, so this is the thing that I'm proud of. We basically did a clinical phase 3 product development for erythropoietin, which is a biosimilar product. We worked with a Korean company called Biotech. So we did phase 3 clinicals. And clinical development in phase 3 means you have to use a product on as many patients as you think is necessary to give you the results that you're looking for in terms of safety and efficacy. So that's what we've done. And that passed the mustard, we registered it, etc. We're also the exclusive distribution and marketing partner for Biocon's insulin. Biocon has a FDA-approved facility in Johor. And we acquired some equity in Pension and SEM Life Sciences, 2 different companies in Korea. Basically, one is the company that developed the Pension, the erythropoietin product that we were working on, and also a stem cell company called SEM Life Sciences. So SEM is interesting because they've developed different products that we still need to take through clinicals, phase 3, and spend quite a lot of millions in order to bring the product to the patients, right? We were also involved in terms of bringing in vaccines for COVID, our dark period. We brought in Sinopharm's vaccine. Initially, we were supposed to bring in the Russian vaccine, Sputnik V. WHO didn't approve it, so we were told to fly kites. So we went with Sinopharm, brought in the vaccines, and then suddenly COVID went away. I tell you. But it's an interesting journey. I think I will talk a little bit about that in terms of the digitalisation journey using the vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine experience. So these are our customers. We're basically supplying about 8% to 9% of the entire MOH drug requirement, drug supply. So in terms of breakdown, revenue-wise, we supply about 52% to MOH, about 46% to the private sector, and the rest to international markets. So our international market is not big, it's about 6%, small. Okay. Not moving. Refuses to move. Yeah, okay. So these are the three facilities. There's 2 of the same picture there, 2 same site, 2 different things. So Duopharma Malaysia Sdn Bhd is based in Klang. We acquired it back in 2005. It's largely our government tender business. Products comes from the Klang facility, okay? The Bangi facility is really our private sector business facility. And Happy is basically not happy pills, but it's a high potent active pharma ingredient plant. It's basically very toxic. Like if you swallow, you die. These are the raw materials. But we manufacture anti-cancer / oncology products from there. So breast cancer, blood cancer, all sorts of different cancer products. So it's the first of its kind, and it uses this isolator. You put gloves in, your hand into gloves, and then you work within a very vacuum-type facility. And at the same time, our R&D facility is also located on the same site in Glenmarie as well. So everything is in Selangor. Okay. So regional presence, we've got offices and our marketing and sales teams in Singapore, Manila, as well as in Jakarta. In terms of our sales force, we have 240 throughout the country and also the region, etc. And then the red dots are where we are located and also our depots. And we export to about 31 countries. I checked this morning, it's 32 countries. Even if we sell one product, we consider that a market, obviously, right? So, largely in ASEAN, APAC, as well as rest of the world and Middle East. So, okay, we move into the digital journey in pharmaceuticals. I have to warn you, I'm not a digital guy, okay? Group operations doesn't mean I do everything. My boss thinks that, but anyway, so this is just showing you that we are actually trying to be as aligned as possible to what the government aspires the country to do from a digitalization, automation perspective. We are a government-linked company because we are owned by, PNB, owned by EPF, and so on and so forth, right? So by virtue of that, we are a GLC. So we do have programs that we have to embark on, we have to participate in, which the government supports. But this is obviously something that we do because we believe it's relevant to us. So what's important is the bottom bit where you talk about the manufacturing operations, supply chain, and sales operations. So how does this digital transformation journey exemplifies what the government wants us to do? But more importantly, I think in my case, is what our shareholders want us to do. So anyway, okay, so in terms of our strategy, we started digitalization back in 2018. To be even more accurate, I think we started in 2010 when we started adopting SAP from Excel sheet, right? So that's the digitalization aspect of it. You use ERP because it's very important for everything that you do within the company. So we've done that. What we realized is that spending money where it matters. So the priority is always to make sure that we allocate the funds that is required immediately for business purposes, compliance purposes, to ensure that we get the returns on investment as well. So real-time tracking is basically supply chain. And as I was saying, vaccines, it's something that you have to monitor in that manner. And now we are doing it for all our cold chain products, mainly cold chain, because otherwise your products can go really bad really fast, right? So manufacturing automation, this is costing us a lot. But obviously it's important for us to do this because it gives us a lot of returns from a compliance perspective, reduction in wastages. Because when, I give you an example, let's say we used to have a lot of manual labor doing packing of our products. And then you have, certain products, let's say it's underfilled if it's a liquid product. Or if it's a tablet product, you underpack, all right? So automation, camera sensors, et cetera, will help us to ensure that we resolve these issues. So that's what we've done. We spend, I think, around 6 to 7 million buying those 6 cartoning machines. Data analytics and business intelligence. I would say these things are great, but if your data is dirty, it needs to be hygienic, it needs to be clean, then your first task that you need to do is basically make sure that your data is cleaned up, restructured, et cetera, so that it makes sense for you. So embarking on digitalization is great because you're addressing certain challenges that you have in terms of actually being a lot more productive, being a lot more compliant, and being able to produce more products and sell more products quickly. But if you have data that is obviously not helping you, then the first task that you have to do is clean up those data. So the key deliverables that we have is efficiency and productivity, better customer experience, visibility and transparency, and also cost reduction. Okay. All right, so I'll start off with our automated manufacturing. So you tell me if it's groundbreaking or not. But when we started off, we have equipments that have been in facilities that were built in the 1970s. So after, you're stretching it when you go 20 years, right? So you have to replace them around 15 years of use, after 15 years of use. But we've stretched our facilities as much as possible because we're trying to sweat the asset as much as possible. But doing that means that you're pushing the actual eventual work that you need to do later, and you're just delaying the pain. So what we've been doing so far, in the last 7 years, is spent about 400 million trying to, rejuvenate our assets, bring in new machines, etc., etc. And those machines have to be able to talk to each other. So there's systems that you have to bring in as well. So remote systems, building management system, continuous monitoring systems, pilot OE systems, etc. They have their time within the context of the last 7 years that we've included them into our acquisitions. But there are important things that we have to do. The other thing that I think is also important is the people aspect of it. You can bring in the equipment and the systems, but if your people are not well trained to use the systems, it's also a problem. So I think it's part and parcel of that development or that transition is actually developing your manpower to be able to use the systems well enough. Okay, so then the supply chain. Okay, I was talking about the vaccines experience with COVID-19. Was working on Sputnik V. So I can tell you that I actually, because Sputnik V is a product that is, if I'm not mistaken, about 68 degrees below, minus 68 degrees Celsius. So minus 68 degrees Celsius means you have to freeze those things. And you have to freeze it, and you have to make sure that the supply chain all the way from, let's say, St. Petersburg, on the ship, on the plane, is carried through into the port, into our warehouse, into the hospitals or the PPVs, as they used to call it. Remember that word? That bad word? The Pusat Pemberian Vaccine. And so you have to make sure that it meets all those requirements. So thank God WHO didn't approve it. Otherwise, I would have to spend a lot of money buying freezers and possibly containers with freezers. But what's important with supply chain products is that you have to keep them circa 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. So insulin, you have to do that. And when you do that, you must know that throughout the entire life of that product, until you inject it into the patient, they are within 2 to 8 degrees. Otherwise, they break down and they're not efficacious anymore, right? So you can't use them. There's a certain time that after you take out from the freezer, you can actually keep it out there for about, maybe 7, 8 hours. After that, you have to use it. But so those are the challenges that we have. So we've had to invest in track and trace capabilities, supply chain capabilities, freezing capabilities, all sorts of things in terms of monitoring the products, etc. Okay. So QMS, okay, quality management system. This is the bit where we talk about how it's a highly regulated industry, so you have to have the systems in place. So TQM is a system that basically implements a compliance-centric PQS solutions. It's all alien to me, but what's important is that you're actually meeting the regulatory requirements for the products that you're manufacturing to make sure that they are complying to the safety, the quality, and the efficacious requirements of GMP, all right? So there's PICS. PICS basically is a EU-related standard where basically it's called Pharmaceutical Inspection Cooperation Scheme, okay, PICS. Am I blocking the way? So NPRA, or the country, is actually a member of PICS from a GMP perspective. See if I can remember this. US 21 CFR is an audit for automated systems or systems that you use in manufacturing of your products. Okay, so we have to make sure that we are compliant to US 21 CFR, or otherwise, they will also consider our products not compliant. GAMP5, now I've forgotten about what that is, but this is, I think, good automated manufacturing practice. So it has its own framework, and you have to, as a company in Malaysia, you have to meet it if you want to export your products outside. So the enforcement of right first-time concept in pharmaceuticals is important because it's going to cost you if you don't get it right. So every batch that you manufacture, it can be just written off. Sorry if it's dry. But, okay. So GMP-related computer system software. What you're seeing here on this slide is basically GMP-related automated softwares. The biggest circle there means that you have a lot more activities related to that particular software. So this is Nova QMS, or Quality Management System, for quality QA, quality assurance. SAP, as I mentioned earlier, is an ERP planning activity, so it has all these different functions that is basically contained in it. Raw materials, packaging materials, on handwell, warehousing, temperature stability, all these systems are actually what we use within the pharmaceutical industry, and it uses a lot of data, it uses a lot of digital requirements, etc. And of course, we have to have very strong Wi-Fi capabilities, etc., that will make sure that the facilities, or the systems will actually work. Okay. All right, so this is more interesting because I'm on the commercial side mainly. Telehealth. Telehealth. In pharmaceuticals, there are not that many companies in Malaysia that has a telesales function. So Duopharma is, I think, the only company now that has it. And I was explaining during an interview earlier, the reason why this is important to us is because we have different categories of products, right? So you have the really new, or the new products, which you need to detail to the doctors and the nurses in certain cases. And you also have the older commoditized products. So older commoditized products, you don't need to actually detail it. You don't need the face-to-face resource to go down to the ground and tell the doctors that you need to use this. So things like statin, for example, for your blood pressure or your cardio drug, or your anti-infectives, i.e. your antibiotics. You don't need to go and tell the doctor that this is a very good antibiotic. They know it is because it's been around for the last 30, 40 years. So it's not a new drug. So what's important is to take these products and let the telehealth team do that work. So the telehealth team has this omni-channel approach to it. So they use WhatsApps, emails, calls, etc. One is to remind them of the need to restock. Two is to also tell them that there's new products that are coming online, etc., etc. And we will send the face-to-face detailers to you, and so on and so forth. So I think it has helped us to grow the business by a circa 10 to 11% CAGR, so which is an interesting model. So we can now offer the same services to other companies who believe that that would be the right way that they want to do this, grow into the market. So it's actually called Duopharma Connects. It's covered by the visual, the graphic. But Duopharma Connects, in short, is basically a platform that helps us to train our staff internally, train our customers on the use of the drugs, track inventory across our range of customers. It's not fully implemented yet, but it's starting. E-catalogs can also be shared with our customers. And it's basically going to be a tool, not for e-commerce per se, but more for healthcare professionals to keep in touch with Duopharma's progress and new products that we are launching, detailing materials, scientific materials that they require, etc., etc. So it will be on this platform. It's also an internal platform where you can actually train your staff as well. So I think this is something that perhaps some other companies are doing outside of Malaysia, but within Malaysia, I don't think there's anybody else doing this. Okay, I'll give you an example which is very useful. let me know if I'm going over time, Joachim. Okay, there's dangerous drugs. So certain categories of drugs are called dangerous drugs or poisons, right? So you cannot just sell it to anybody. You have to only sell it to people who has poison licenses, right? Right now, poison licenses are held by pharmacists. It has to be held by pharmacists. They are regulated people, right? So they hold it, and then they register their facility, let's say their pharmacy, under a particular name. So Pratik, for example, works for ABC Pharmacy. You are a pharmacist, you're the poison license holder. Suddenly, your license lapses. In December last year, when you are supposed to renew, I can have access to your renewed license being valid. But during the year, I don't have visibility again because the customers don't keep sending you on a monthly basis what happens, right? So if the government and the industry have a shared platform where they share the data, link up, and we know what's happening at any point in time. This second or next second, if your license is revoked or you've, God forbid, passed on, whatever it is, you've stopped working with that company, 5 more minutes. Okay, I'll move on. Then you can't have visibility. So with this, you can have visibility, provided NPRA or pharmacy department of MOH works with you. Right. Sorry, I'll just open them all up. So in terms of challenges, obviously resources, money. Like I said earlier, we have to prioritize. Technology, that also costs money as well, but it's also integration of technology, I think is very important. Personnel, training people that have, well, I think training is not difficult, but to change mindset is very difficult. From one, well, not generation, but generation. From one groups of people who may have worked with Duopharma for the last 20 years or whatever it is, and suddenly you introduce a system, they refuse to use it. Hybris, for example, I don't know whether you know Hybris. It's basically a system that helps you to have visualize graphs, etc., based on the data that you've got, right? So they don't use it because they say, a waste of time, I just go and sell. But when you look at this data, it actually tells you where you should be selling, where you should not be selling. Anyway, so okay, I'll move on. Security, yeah. So I think right now we have got a lot of people getting hacked, banks getting hacked, pharmaceutical company almost got hacked. So, security is a problem. Enhanced data integration, predictive analytics, utilization, predictive modeling, and machine learning. That's what's next. Whether Duopharma spends money on these things, I don't know. We are very, very careful with what we move into. We've invested in some companies on a strategic basis because we have access to the technology, et cetera, et cetera. And in terms of digitalization, we decided one day that, okay, let us try to understand the space better because there are a lot of companies that are out there doing all sorts of health apps, improvement of health, et cetera, and they work with insurance companies. So we thought that might be a good place to start. So invested in a company called Naluri Hidup, which is started by a guy called Azran Rani Osman, formerly of Asia X. And we thought it was a good platform because we wanted to try to understand whether that platform can help us to also have better visibility in terms of compliance of insulin drugs or patients on renal drugs and so on and so forth, and we can use it to track how patients are doing via that app. It's a long-haul project, if you ask me. The readiness of patients themselves to even input into the system, because it's basically like Google Maps, it's user input kind of data, information. So yes, okay, 1 more minute. What's next? There's a lot of things. So, I mean, I think you know some of this, a lot of these buzzwords, predictive modeling, AI, 4D printing, you can print tablets, capsules, et cetera, I think there's a lot of issues in terms of compliance and regulatory from that perspective. But we are keeping tabs, and so hopefully we can be, better than where we are today. Yes, so in terms of, okay, we aspire to be, we're number 9 now in ASEAN. We hope to be number 5. Supposed to be next year, but well, let's see. So some of the things that we want to do is obviously look at how we can enhance our offering to the market via using digital platforms, etc. And I want to be able to also say that we are improving patients' compliance to drugs, that we're increasing health care and wellness rather than caring for people who are sick. I think that's where MOH is going, and we're also going in that way because we also manufacture products and develop products, not just in the medicine space, but also in the functional food space. I think you can maybe monitor how Duopharma is doing. Hopefully, we can you can see that we're introducing new, interesting products that will not just heal your illnesses, because I think that will still continue to be the bulk of the requirements, but also to improve your healthcare and your wellness. So I think digitally, there's various different ways we can do it. But that's so far what we've done. Hopefully I've given you a picture. I think that's the last slide. Yeah. So thank you very much for listening. I hope I haven't bored you to death, but I overshot my time. Thank you so much.